It's time for a little comedy, a little content, and a lot of conversation. It's the Geno Jones Show, exclusively right here on YouTube. Now here's your host, Geno Jones.
Hey, it's showtime. Showtime. Hey, what's happening, everybody? You know who I am, right? Okay, you don't know? Let me help you out right there. That's me. And I come to you live Monday through Friday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern, 5:30 p.m. in Chicago or Milwaukee, Wisconsin, where my guest, Walt, who is running to be the alderman of the 9th District, right there in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. So he's going to tell you why he's running and what he plans to do to make your life better, especially if you live in Milwaukee and especially if you live in the 9th District. But before that, let me start off the show. Oh, by the way, please subscribe to the Geno Jones Show YouTube channel. You and everybody that you know and that you don't know. Everybody that you love. Folks you like. Folks you cool with. Folks that, you ain't that cool with. Folks you can't stand. Folks you hate. Strangers. Aliens from outer space. I don't care. I don't give a damn. Tell them all to subscribe to the Geno Jones Show YouTube channel and watch me live, like I said, Monday through Friday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern, or you can go back and binge watch all of my back episodes right here on my YouTube channel. Tyre Nichols. So you're probably saying, all right, Geno, who is Tyre Nichols? Tyre Nichols was a 29-year-old black man. He worked for FedEx in Memphis, Tennessee. He was a father. He was a son. And he died after a traffic stop that turned into a brutal beating by 5 City of Memphis police officers who, ironically, were also black, which just reinforces the notion that when it comes to police brutality, the only color that really matters. Now listen, let's be honest. Let me keep it 1,000. Obviously, black people, especially black men, are at higher risk than anyone, because we've seen murders, mass murderers, who were not black, who were apprehended by the police without a shot. And somehow, black people who were just speeding or quote-unquote driving recklessly, unarmed, traffic stops, somehow they wound up literally beaten to death, shot and killed. So the problem is deeper than race, and yes, they're white nationalists on police force. I've been telling you on this show for 2 years. Not my opinion. According to the FBI director, under the other dude, said the biggest domestic threat to America was the threat from white nationalists. And that white nationalists, members of the Oath Keepers, 3 percenters, Aryan Nation Ku Klux Klan had infiltrated not just local, state, county, and federal law enforcement and the military. So don't believe me. Take his word. The former FBI director under the dude I call Orange Hitler. Or all you got to do is look at the video from January 6th and look at the people that's been convicted. Folks, people that are being convicted today. We have people who were former military convicted. We have people in law enforcement charged. I think a couple were convicted. So this is a problem that's deeper. It's even more complicated because the bias and the bigotry and the racism and the white nationalism and the hate always shines through. But when it comes to policing, that's why accountability is so important. It's even deeper. Yes, you've got that layer of those who would do harm to folks that look like me, but then there are folks who look like me who see one color, and that color is blue. And it's harder. This is what I've been told many times by those in law enforcement. It's harder for those who want to do the right thing to rat out, as they would say, point out, tell on officers who are being abusive, because in so many cases I hear that those officers who want to do the right thing, who want to make sure that they notify their superiors that they have they have a police officer who's not following policy, who basically is abusing his authority, and who is, being brutal or worse. Those officers that would tell on that officer, they don't get supported. They go out on calls and they don't get backup. So it's a problem of culture in policing, and it's been that way. It's been that way, really, for decades. I mean, listen, I told you the whole concept of local policing came out of the slave patrols. Local policing was created to capture freed black people and return them to their slave masters. So you can Google that. So really, the problem, that's a whole different show and a whole different history lesson. So one of the ways to change that today, one of the ways to hold police officers who are brutal, who do abuse, who do unlawfully shoot, maim, kill. We've had police officers convicted of rape. How do you root out the quote unquote what they call bad apples and support the good officers? Well, by making sure you elect people, because remember and know this, and I've talked about this in most cities, most areas, especially your big cities. The police chief is appointed by the mayor, and then that police chief who's appointed by the mayor, in many cases, has to be voted on. The aldermen, the alderwomen, the alder people, or the council people in that city, in those wards or districts, have to vote to approve whether or not this person is fit to be police chief, because the police chiefs, they set the culture. They determine what kind of culture. They determine where officers truly understand that their job is to serve and protect all of the community, even the community that doesn't look like them, or allow a culture of abuse and brutality and unaccountability in those police force. Police chiefs, actually mayors, because the mayor appoints the police chief, and if the mayor wants to make sure that there is a culture of accountability, he or she will appoint a police chief who will make sure that there's accountability in that police department. And the aldermen, alder people, the council people will also do that. So I bring that up so I can introduce my guest. As a matter of fact, full disclosure, so I did a TV show in Milwaukee back in the late 80s, way back in the day. And I worked also, so I did an afternoon radio show, and then I did a TV show. And I got a chance to meet this man many years. A man, I like to say, his commitment to his culture, his commitment to his city, his commitment to his community. Look, as they say in the barbershop, he's a real one. Nothing phony about this brother. What you see is what you get. And I can co-sign for that and vouch for that, because I have known him 30 years, 30 plus years. Stop counting. That's all you need to know. He is truly a man that's committed to his community. So he's about commitment. He's definitely about integrity. I can co-sign for that. Always been about integrity and about accountability. Or as I taught my daughters, listen, if you make a mistake, you be the first one. You raise your hand, you own it. Hold yourself accountable, atone, apologize, fix, rectify the situation to make sure it doesn't happen again. So this is a man who's running on a platform of commitment, integrity, and accountability. And I haven't lived in Milwaukee in 30 years. But if I did, he would have my vote. So I'm co-signing for him. But I'm going to let him come on camera, and we're going to have like a barbershop conversation live on the show. I've had guests on. So let me introduce you, see him on camera, ladies and gentlemen. He is running to be the alderman of the 9th District right there in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And his name is Walt Love. Walt Love!
Yes, sir.
Looking like $100 million. Boy, you look like, the hell with the alderman. You should be the governor. I mean, let Evers know. It's like, hey, listen, you better look out, Governor Evers, because Governor Love sounds good, but we first of all, one step at a time. We're gonna focus on making sure we get you in that seat, Alderman Walt Love. So welcome to the show, man. Listen, we've had this conversation off camera. I'm really excited. I'm so glad that you are running. I know you got a great team. Got a shout out to my other family member. Full disclosure, someone else that I've known for about 30 years, a pillar of the community, good dude, almost as funny as me, almost as good looking as me, but he's family. He's truly family. I mean, the only thing we didn't share is coming out of the same woman, mother's womb. But the three of us have a very special and unique bond, and we're just really happy and proud of you. And you're the right person at the right time for the right job. But we want to shout out Harrison Kern, who I know that's part of your team that's there with you. So listen, Walt, so we're in the barbershop, my friend. Just imagine, we're in the barbershop, because people are probably watching me right now. Some folks in the barbershop, the beauty. Back in the day, we called it the beauty salon. Now it's the it's the salon, or at their house, or sitting around on the big screen on their tablet, smartphone, maybe on the train or whatever. In the airport, sitting there, right there in the airport, at the gate, the waiting area to get on their flight. First question: why? What's your inspiration? Why do you want to be the alderman of the 9th District? And two, what are you going to do? This is the real barbershop question, because folks sitting around, especially against some young cats, some young brothers and sisters, because politics has really turned them off. They've seen so much, the last 7-8 years, really, especially from 16 to 2020, we've seen people try to overthrow the government. It's just crazy. So a lot of our young people, and not so young, they've given up. They think all politicians are liars and crooks, and that they're in it for themselves, and they're not going to do anything to make my everyday life better. So anybody that's watching it and want to know, especially in Milwaukee, they say, Mr. Walt Love, what are you going to do after you tell me, why do you want to be my alderman, and what are you going to do to make my life better, that I'll see? Not something that you're going to promise and I got to wait 80 years, something that you will do that I will be able to see a tangible difference in my life.
Yes, thank you. Geno, first of all, man, I want to thank you for having me on your platform. I appreciated you. Like you mentioned earlier, I and Harrison go way back. I remember back when you was at B93 in Chicago, the Bees over there.
Yep, actually B96. And then
B96. Right.
Hot 102, which is no longer there in Milwaukee. That was long. Right. We dating ourselves with that one.
I remember you were the only African-American, Black, whatever we call ourselves these days, that was over at B96 in Chicago. And
I was the first African-American man they hired. So they had Carla Box, who did middays. So she was the first black person. So she was actually there doing middays before I got there. But I was the first African-American man they hired full-time. Then they brought a brother in named Steve Gunn, who came in like right after me. And then he came on. I was on at night, came on at 10 o'clock, and then he came on after me at 2 in the morning. So.
Yeah. And that's just how far we go back. And that was in the 80s in Chicago.
Yeah.
I was over at BMX AM and KKC and whatnot. But what I'm doing here in Milwaukee, man, I tell you, what my slogan is, which is who I am, is CIA. They need to bring love to the city of Milwaukee, which has commitment, integrity, and accountability. It is so horrific that those simple things, simple words, which mean a lot and carry a lot of weight, is not really exercised. There is so much going on downtown that it is asinine. And to me, I've had enough. So instead of sitting on the sideline Monday morning quarterbacking, I'm jumping in the fight. I'm jumping in the game. I'm putting myself out there where, I'm going to stick to commitment, integrity, and accountability because that's who I am. Now, for what I'm going to do
Well,
for
so
my
let me stop you first. So
yes.
somebody that's watching and saying, okay, that sounds good, but what does that actually look like? What is that going to look like? So from the outside looking in, folks
Hmm.
looking at you, folks, like I said, in the hair salon, the beauty salon, the barbershop, they'll be able to see it. What is that commitment? What is that integrity? What is that accountability actually going to look like on a day-to-day basis if you are elected to be alderman of the ninth district?
Okay, let me give you an example. They're pushing a prison here, a level 1 youth prison, and that is the most egregious offenders, youth that are youth. And what they're doing is, since they're not a uh, representative in this district, they're pushing it back. Now, where integrity comes in at is the president of the Common Council in District 1 downtown. They were going to take a school and turn it into uh, affordable housing, low income housing. He said, oh, there's no one in that district right now representing it. And this was just in November last year.
Okay.
There's no one in that district. So we're going to wait until we get somebody in that district in order to see if we want to put that in that district. Well, why not do that for the ninth district? That's where integrity and accountability comes in at. I would not stand for that. As an alderman, even if I wasn't in those districts, I would step up and say, that's not right. We should wait until there is representation for that 40 to 50,000 residents in the district number 9 in order for them to have representation that will stand here and say yay or nay for this prison to be built in their backyard.
So they would have a say.
That's
So you representing the people, and basically, whatever the community has to say, whatever their voice is, you're going to reflect what their wishes are, and you will be in a position of power to make sure that you can stand up for what's right and what the people in the ninth district want.
And in addition to that, Geno, I would call the president of the Common Council out, which he's the president of all of those districts. It's 15 Common Council members in the city of Milwaukee. And if it was in someone else's district that did not have representation, where the integrity would come in at, is like, I would say we should not have them vote on that particular issue until there is someone in there. And I would also let my constituents know these things as they transpire, because communication has been lost here. And that's part of the problem in terms of that particular incident. That's just one incident, Geno. There's a number of things that's going on here in this city. And it's plaguing the country a little bit with reckless driving. That's another thing that I want to attack. The Fire and Police Commission is one who tells basically the police officers and firemen what they can do. But when you have a state statute that says you can do A and B, and which I'll tell you what A and B is, that supersedes what the Fire and Police Commission for the city of Milwaukee can say and do, or in reference to the police officers. Now, let me break that down to you. We have a state statute, 94130, which indicates reckless endangerment. Reckless and endangerment means that if somebody is recklessly driving a car, that's a missile, basically, 4,000-pound missile. They just killed a guy over the weekend, youth, 13 to 15. It was 5 of them in one car. Ran the red light, running from the police, hit this man. The lady that he was just first date he's going out on with her, from what I hear, he's dead. She goes to the hospital. The kids get a slap on the wrist because they're minors. No, reckless endangerment would have been, hey, we take the car, we take you, you go to jail. Here's what's going to take place behind reckless endangerment. If somebody was approaching you with a bat, a gun, or a knife, same principle. It's reckless endangerment of life. And the police officers and the sheriff department could have used that and been on this before it got like a wildfire. That's just one example, Geno.
So let's go back to what are you going to do for me and how's my life? What are you going to do to improve my everyday life? They'll say, you sound good, Brother Walt. I'm considering giving you my vote, but the day after you're elected, what am I going to see? What am I going to see in my neighborhood? What am I going to see in my life that's going to improve?
One of the things, and that's one of the things in terms of what's really a big issue here, is reckless driving. So when you allow and you present that to the Common Council as well as to the media, because I don't have a problem going to the media. You know, we've been in the media. And I'll say, hey, here's what I'm telling them to do and what they can do, and they're not even listening. So I think the constituents of this district needs to know that. So what you need to do is pick up your phone and call the sheriff department. Pick up your phone and call the chief of police. Pick up your phone and call the mayor. Say, you're telling me that you can't do anything about reckless driving, but Councilman Love say you guys can do this because it's a state statute. And is that true? And if it is true, why aren't you applying this to help combat this problem of reckless driving? It's just another tool in their toolbox to use, but they're not using it. They want to engineer their way out of this in terms of speed bumps and roundabouts and curb knobs or whatever they call them. You can't engineer away from a habit or from what people think and how they do these things. You can't engineer that away. So you have to take other elements. And in addition to that, Geno, in the state of Wisconsin, we have a $5 billion surplus. Again, $5 billion surplus. Milwaukee is the largest city in the state of Wisconsin. They send more money to the state than anybody. Some of that money needs to come back to Milwaukee in order to get us more police officers, more sheriff departments, more things that we can use in our tool chest to combat these issues.
So let me jump in because I got about 2 minutes before I lose your live shot. I want you to talk about briefly some of the other policy positions that you want to affect. Affordable housing, is that an issue? What about education? Those are just two off the top of my head. So the other policies that you really want to address and that you plan to address your first days, your first 90 days in office, first 100 days.
My first 90 days in office, Geno, is we have an area here called North Ridge. North Ridge was the heartbeat of the North Side. And in Milwaukee, the North Side of Milwaukee is mostly African American. And we had our own mall and just a plethora of things and entertainment that could take place on this side of town. Well, this mall has been sold to a Chinese and Canadian company that hasn't had it. It's been dilapidated for 20 years. 20 years. Now, you may have heard of this company called Foxconn. Well, the government gave Foxconn a ton of money to move 50 miles down the road, but they can't give us a few $1 million to tear this and repurpose this location, which is, I'm not sure how many acres it is, but it's huge.
Wasn't that, as a matter of fact, not to cut you off, but just real quick.
Yeah.
So wasn't Apple going to build iPhones or parts for iPhones in that plant that never came there? Am I correct? Is that the same one?
Well, no, this is Foxconn was going to do computer chips and TVs.
Okay.
That's what they were going to do. Now, this city has turned down a lot of.
Your live shot froze. I think we had an issue with the Wi-Fi. It's still pretty frozen. Hopefully he'll unfreeze. So that's Walt Love. He's running to be the alderman of the 9th District in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Listen, you can do an easy, quick Google search, Walt Love. He's on Instagram. He is on Facebook. He is on Twitter. Just do a quick Google search. I think his campaign, he may even have his campaign website. But just do a Google search, Walt Love, for alderman 9th District in Milwaukee, but he's definitely, I know, on Instagram, search Walt Love. On Facebook, search Walt Love. So we lost a live shot. So I want to thank Brother Walt Love for it. And best of luck to Walt, to you and your campaign, and best of luck to the people of the great city of Milwaukee and the great state of Wisconsin. Happy birthday to Kenya Moore. She was like the former Miss USA way back in 1993. Now you see on the Real Housewives of Atlanta, the ATL. Kenya Moore, happy 52nd birthday. Black really don't crack. And so, if you were if you were a fan of the TV show, who wasn't? The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air back in the 90s? Because they had some great shows. One of my favorite, Living Single. They had Girlfriends, and then they had The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Remember Ashley? Ashley Banks. Yeah, come on. No lie, you brothers, y'all had a crush on Miss Ashley back in the day. It's like, boy, you was like, ooh, Ashley fine. So, black still don't crack. Tatiana Ali, Ashley Banks, as many of you all know her, 44 today. So happy birthday to Tatiana Ali. Happy birthday to Kenya Moore. Happy birthday to all my Aquariuses celebrating their birthday today. It's your birthday. Like Heavy D says, got nothing but love for you, baby. I got nothing but love for you, honey. Thank you for letting me be a part of your life. God bless each and every one of you, and especially you. And God, most of all, thank you for letting me do the Geno Show. I come to you live Monday through Friday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern, 5:30 p.m. in Chicago, or up in Milwaukee, where my guest, Walt Love, who is running to be the alderman of the 9th District, is hanging out right now, 3:30 p.m. on the West Coast. Please subscribe to the Geno Jones Show. Subscribe, share, like, and binge watch all my back episodes. All of them. You got it. And check me out once again, like I said, live Monday through Friday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern. The next live edition of the Geno Jones Show is going to be Wednesday, Hump Day, Working Divas Wednesday, Get Well Wednesday, all of that. It's going to be Wednesday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern. Until then, as always, be blessed. Pray for peace. Thanks for watching. Once again, thanks to my guest, Walt Love, candidate to be the alderman of the 9th District up in Milwaukee. If you missed some of the show, go back and watch it right now.
Subscribe and tune in to the next episode of The Geno Jones Show, exclusively right here on YouTube.